Hi, and now I'm joined by Abraham Mudogo. Karibu sana.
Asante.
Yes, he's CEO Miradi Capital. Is not a stranger on this particular platform. We are happy that you made time to be here today.
Thank you.
Today we're looking at Kenya trade deficit.
Okay.
That's a big thing, man.
Yes.
And it's widening ever. I mean, we've really been making calls to build our own, buy our own, build, grow Kenya. But still, the appetite for foreign manufactured goods is still high.
It is.
And we've seen that. I mean, we're going to talk about that briefly, but the widening gap, 38.57, let's start there. What is that? What's your take on that?
You see the trade deficit is basically a function of the difference between your exports and your imports.
Yes.
If your imports are more, then it's a negative deficit like what we have.
Yeah.
If your exports are more, then it's a positive. Number two, you can cure it two ways.
Yes.
You either increase your exports
Yes.
or you decrease your
imports.
imports.
Yeah.
Now, we don't seem to be increasing our exports much for several reasons. Number one, like now, one of our main exports, as far as it's not a physical commodity, is tourism.
Yes.
But with the current dispensation, COVID dispensation, that's not doing very well.
Exactly.
So now we are left with more of how can we reduce the imports.
The imports.
You see, so now that's what we're trying to see, and most the main driver of imports is the manufacturing sector.
Yes.
If you look very carefully, so we're trying to see which at two levels, which goods that are we importing inputs for, can we use local products?
Yeah.
You see, if we're importing a foreign, if we're importing a toothpick, is it possible that you can use a local toothpick?
Yes.
That is one level, at the product level.
Yeah.
At the input level, if in producing a certain gel, there are certain inputs that come from certain countries, can those inputs, one of them or some of them, come from locally?
Local.
So it's an import substitution at the producer level and at the product level.
Okay.
So that's what they're doing. But there's a lot of double speak on that issue. We keep talking about Buy Kenya.
Yes.
But I think it's only, it never leaves our lips.
True.
And so I think we need to start deciding what is it. And you see, if you look at countries that have gone this route and succeeded, there are certain things that you must, you see, it starts from either increasing the tax or the import duty on certain products that is prohibitive to bring them, right all the way to total bans. That a certain product, like the way we say a car that is more than 8 years shall not be imported.
Yes.
A car that is left-handed shall not be imported.
Yes.
So we need to increase the list on that, because it is true that certain things that we import can be found here. But in the short run, they may cost slightly more. But the more we engage now those local producers, they'll become more efficient, they'll have economies of scale, and that price will come down.
Okay.
So the short-term loss of pricing may be recouped by the long-term gains as an economy. Not to mention the positive impact on the forex outlay.
Yeah.
All
right. I mean, COVID hit,
Yes.
and then we saw a lot of disruption in terms of imports.
Yes.
But we don't learn, do we? Because, I mean, here we are, the president is there making a rallying call, Buy Kenya, Build Kenya, but still we are a net importer. We're not manufacturing as much. And most of the things that probably we, as you had mentioned, we can find them locally.
Yes.
Where's the disconnect? Why are we not learning?
Because if you must always go to the root cause of something.
Yes.
If you deal with symptoms, the cause is still there. It will continue. So we never changed our manufacturing model. We never our personal tastes. Those never changed. So it means as soon as we get a chance to go back to our old habits, we do, and we have. You see, so all we are doing, the demand was what we would call pent up demand. It was just it just been put in a lid had been put on it.
Yes.
So the moment you remove the lid, it does its thing. But what we should have dealt with is change this model while we had this time. Sit down the manufacturing and see what can we do different. But there are some who did, but I don't think it was significant enough. And that's why you can see that the patterns are still not showing at a macro level.
All right. And now, what do we then need to do? I mean, you mentioned in terms of change our habits, strengthen the structures around manufacturing. What more should we do so that Kenyans are even now thinking, okay, fine, instead of going to the shelf and picking this toothpick from China, can I pick this toothpick that is from Pipeline, for instance?
No, yeah, you see, there's a mentality shift that you, first of all, you have to be proud of our own.
Right.
If you go to, a good example is India. They produce their own things, they consume their own things, and they've grown their market. Now they're able to export. If you look at Kenya, one of our saving graces right now is diaspora remittances. That's what is more or less stabilizing. But we need to increase that by increasing our exports, not by volume, but by value.
By value, okay.
What am I saying? If you look at most of our exports, the highest commodity, the highest income earner in terms of forex commodity-wise is tea. Is an agricultural. There's horticulture.
Yes.
There's coffee.
Yeah.
So if you look at that spectrum, it's all agricultural.
Yeah.
But they all have one thing in common. It's primary produce. So take a scenario like, for example, avocado. Avocado, it comes from the farmer. They are buying from the farmer maximum 20 shillings per avocado.
Yes.
They process it. If you look at the shelf price in the UK, it's about 3 to 4 euro. If you look at that price differential, it means that if this avocado, instead of selling the way it was, we can do avocado oil, we can do guacamole, we can do very many things. If we sell those products value added, our exports will double, treble, without the volume going up. In fact, the volume might actually even come down because you are selling a whole avocado. Now you are selling only the pulp, but for a very high value.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the value addition is the way we need to go across the agricultural value chain.
Yeah.
And several things will happen. Number one, we'll get more forex, foreign exchange. So we'll export more. Yeah. Number two is that we will add value to the entire value chain, because that people, even who are not farmers, will be gaining from the value chain. I'll give you an example. Right now, you'll see a lot of agricultural apps, fresh mboga, whatever, all manner of names. You do a show on that issue.
Yes.
So those people who are running those apps probably don't even know how food grows, and they don't need to. But what they are doing, they are creating a marketplace.
Yes.
You see, so this mama mboga is able to access the final buyer and cut out these guys in the middle. So she's able to sell her products faster, cheaper. She gets a better price, but the end guy gets a cheaper price, because this guy, the number of people who are in the middle,
the margins are reduced.
So it's a win-win.
Yes.
So that's what happens when there's value addition, because the chain is longer, there's backward forward integration, so we have more participation. And then now this thing of Kenya being an agricultural country, which we are, has more value to more people.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. And talking about Kenya being an agricultural country, there's horticulture that is really a big earner for us as a country, and cut flower has always been doing very well, but we saw it go down by 2.85%, and that for me then it's sort of like an alarm sounding. Is it time now to diversify to other options?
Yes.
And do we have viable options in that matter?
No. You see, if you look at the global market for horticulture, it's because we are stuck with certain markets for either historical reasons or for other reasons that I may not know. But the truth of the matter is that market is huge. If you look at the avocado, I just state the avocado, it is still an unsatisfied market in total. Because if you look at the companies in Europe that consume more avocado than even Kenya can produce, one company.
Yes.
You see? So it's not an issue. It's not an issue of capacity.
Yes.
It's more an issue of, can we first of all understand what they want and produce what they want and get to them. Don't forget, there's still a bottleneck of freight. Yeah, freight is another big issue. You see, either real or created.
Or created,
but it's there. So we need something in the value chain. As much as we're creating a value chain, we also have to smoothen it, so that it is smooth, that you and I can play in that market. Because if the mama mboga here or the mama avocado here can be able to sell her avocado or come together as a circle and be able to send their market straight to a supermarket, the value would be immense. True. But now the way it is that they have to sell to somebody who does very little to it, but makes a lot of money out of it. Simply because they have the capacity and they have the infrastructure to send it, and they have the know-how. But you see, in any market, what brings parity is information asymmetry.
Yeah.
So the producer and the buyer know as much as possible about each other. But here, the guy who's selling the avocado has no clue how much that avocado is worth.
It's at the market.
In fact, they are very grateful that somebody is selling that. But I have an auntie of mine who tells me she's very happy to sell it at 20.
Yeah.
But if I told her the other price, I would break her heart.
Yeah.
So the thing is, going back to our deficit, that deficit can easily be cured even by increasing our exports. Yeah. And just allow us to continue with our importation habits. We just cure it by increasing our
value.
Through value,
yes.
not quantity.
Not quantity.
Yeah.
You've spoken about that, a lot about the producer and the buyer at the end, but in between here there's a lot of middlemen, so to speak.
Yes.
What then needs to happen? Is it that we need a policy change? Is it that we need to, bridge that information gap? What needs to happen so that now this producer here understands that this is the value of my product and this is how I can get it to the market well and get my reward at it?
You see, in any market dynamic, there has to be an efficient system of price discovery. And price discovery is best achieved through a competitive process. Like I'll give you an example of tea. The law now has been changed. You can only sell tea to the world through the auction.
Yes.
So that is the only way we can discover what is the true price of that tea.
Yes.
Now, coming to these other commodities, one of the ways we can have price discovery is by exposing the producer to the end user, to the end consumer.
Yes.
You see, the farmer is to expose the guy holding the fork. You see, why? Because if he's exposed, then this one first of all knows where their produce comes from. It's very important to know where your produce comes from, how it's produced, when it was produced. And then now, this person also realizes, comes to an understanding of how much their need is really worth, because they'll be exposed to these prices.
Yes.
So they're even able to give a discount because based on what they were getting before, and given this price, they can even cut this price in half and still make good money. So that's why you see people like, without mentioning their names, people who have gone farm to fork solutions are making a lot of money.
Yeah, true.
Because all they are doing is just aggregating and creating convenience.
Yes.
To doorstep solutions. Because that's what one of the habits Corona brought to us, that we want things to our doorstep.
Closer than doorstep, yeah.
But you see, for fresh fruits, it could not have been better. So because you get your fruits, you get your vegetables at your doorstep. If you can get them cheaper, and you can see nowadays they're telling you we'll deliver them free. Why?
Yes.
Because they've saved so much money
in between.
And then because of transport solutions, they're able to tie you with 20 of you who live around each other.
The same place,
so that transportation cost is almost nil.
Negligible, yeah.
So in a nutshell, I think value addition, but again, exposing these two will naturally kill this. We don't have to go after these ones in the middle. Just expose the producer to the end consumer, and the rest will happen.
All right.
Yeah.
And but also there's got to do a lot with our mind and the worldview, especially on the producer side, because your aunt that we mentioned earlier. I'm happy that somebody comes and buys 20 bob.
Yes, they're good. Yes, they're happy.
And I don't know. I mean, they're another one who'd say that I don't even care how much they're selling it at the end.
Yes.
So long as they come in my farm and pick it at 20 bob, I don't have a problem. Yes. But then, is that something that needs to happen also along the culture shift, worldview change, which would be brought about by information, and whose responsibility then is this?
See, anything to do with welfare, public good, fairness, is government responsibility.
Yeah.
That's why governments exist. Government exists to protect the weak from the strong.
Yeah.
that is why governments exist. So we have to have policies that will ensure that that people appreciate what the market looks like.
Yes.
Now, that will only happen through education, civic education, road shows, exposures, talks.
Yeah.
That people are told, this is avocado, you just don't sell it. This is what happens when you sell it. This person, this is what they do with it. Then they hand it over to somebody else. So they start appreciating it. Then they are shown that they're showing the avocado being picked in the UK, in Germany, and what people do with that thing on their plates, other than the things we do with it on our plates.
Yes.
So So when they start getting exposed to that, and then now slowly start appreciating that this actually thing goes out there. Some of them don't even know that it goes out there. Then they can start looking at the kind of prices we're talking about.
It features.
Then what will happen? They'll start forming themselves, and they should be given those solutions because we already have a very advanced country in the cooperative movement. So put these people together, let them come together and sell their thing here. Of course, these guys in the middle will not watch it happen. But if government is the only institution that can meet cartels, nobody else can.
Yes.
So if government decides it's going to happen, it will happen.
Yeah.
So for me, anything welfare, anything goodwill, anything protection, comes from government. And government has the machinery. There's competition authorities, there's the Ministry of Cooperatives, there's a whole liturgy of bureaucracy that can deal with what you want.
All right. And I want us to bring this to a close. And we've spoken about, get the information out there, tell the people that this is what your product is worth at the table.
Yeah.
And what that needs to happen is people need to know so that they can shift their thinking, shift their worldview.
Yes.
As we bring to a close, you've mentioned about adding value, not necessarily quantity and all that. We need to get somewhere. Where do we start?
I think they say the best way normally to start is looking for the quick wins. Yeah. Low-hanging fruits. What can we do very, 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 very quickly? And I think the agriculture value chain can start in a very small way through cottage industries, because this model has happened in India and has done very well. Where you organize, and if you don't forget, even if you go to your area, people have their own loose formats of organization. They just need to be motivated that these organizations you have can be used for other things other than the things you use them for. So if we start there, because the moment, even if you take the fish industry, if you go there, I've gone to Senge Beach. If you go there, you'll find trucks with the refrigeration reversed towards the lake. As those guys are coming, they are selling their fish for throwaway. And they could easily, because fish is perishable, as soon as you walk out of that lake, it's already perishing on you. And the guy with the container knows that.
So
he gives you a price, very ridiculous price. You refuse it, he goes to his truck and sleeps. He knows you'll come to wake him up because it's perishing on him.
Exactly.
So, but what if the scenario, these guys had come together and done containers? So the fish comes and they put it there.
They put it in the container.
They tell them this is the price. If you don't want, you can go. In
Yeah.
fact, now we've even discovered where you take them. We'll take them ourselves.
You go.
And they go like that.
Yes.
But yes, dealing with cartels, I told you, you and I cannot. It has to be a government push. And it is commodity. These things are the same, commodity by commodity by commodity. The story is the same. And the solution, actually, when you think about it, is the same.
Government has to step in.
It has to step in, but the question is how? How do they step in? Just on the area of just bringing us together and protecting these organizations that come together. The rest of it, private enterprise has to do.
All right. Thank you very much. Do you have any final remarks? We close this.
No, for me, I've always held the view that I think we underappreciate the role the foreign remittances play in stabilizing our shilling, in increasing our dollar streams, in increasing our dollar cover. I think we should do more in terms of removing any impediments in terms of price to bring it, the complications, the questions. Make it as easy as possible, because if what they report is what is official, you can imagine there's another chunk equivalent or more that goes under the radar. So it means if we can tell them, no, if you're so long as the Kenyan, the regime for KYC becomes very easy, so that they just send your money back home. But see here, they fear that if I send $1 million, KRA will be waiting for me. Because today, if you told them, if you send your remittances, it will be tax-free for as long as it stays in Kenya for a certain period of time. They'll send it. Because everybody wants a tax haven for their money. So we need to incentivize them, because with all the impediments, with all the system the way it is, they send that kind of money here. Because those guys, and if it is working so well, then let that be our export. Let's encourage those guys. Let's ship our Kenyans out there. Let them work. Let them send us money.
Send us the money.
And those are some of the quick wins.
All right. Okay. So let's start somewhere where we can quickly win and make steps towards attaining where we can be and comfortable. Abraham, It's such a pleasure hosting you.
Thank you.
Anytime you come in here, our discussions are always enriched.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for making the time, sir.
You're welcome.
All right, and at this point, we are going to take a short break. When we come back, we're looking at what you've been posting on social media at Metropole TV KE, at Fred Makori on Twitter. Keep talking, keep tweeting. Vincent Odhiambo will be joining me on the third and final part of the show as we comb through the Twitter handles and just get back to you on what you've been posting.